The New York Post editorial board optimistic about the deal, saying Elon Musk is good for Twitter, journalism, and democracy. An op-ed for the Post also echoing the sentiment, quote, Elon Musk can save Twitter despite what liberal loons say. Jason Rantz, Seattle radio talk show host, in Focus Now. And Jason, you and I have had conversations about people we know getting kicked off. We've both been stickered as disinformation, me for COVID and Hunter Biden and so on and so forth. And now a lot of that has turned out to be true even in the Times.
Exactly, which is why conservatives are so excited here. Elon Musk, I think, just single-handedly changed the political landscape in this country, arguably in this world, for the better. More speech is better than less speech, which is why Democrats right now are so panicked. The biggest threat to Democrats and a lot of their fringe ideas is free speech, where they'll be challenged, where the opposition can actually freely express why they believe the left is wrong. And the way that we've gotten to a point where we're pretending biology doesn't exist or there are 300 genders and whatnot is because we have been silenced. But once you get in front of people and you tell them the truth about what's going on and why the other side just makes no sense, they start to come over to our side. This was never truly political in the sense from conservatives, and we just wanted to have a part of the conversation. And all too often, once you get in front of people, once you start to say your piece, well, beforehand, we were just being told, well, you're bigots, you're not supposed to say that, you can't say it, and they would just silence us. So this is obviously a good thing for us. And arguably, by the way, it's a good thing for everybody to have more open dialogue.
Right. And I mean, for journalists to be able to bring up the work of other journalists like the New York Post digging into the Hunter Biden laptop story, which turned out, as I mentioned, to be absolutely true. And for journalists to point out that the Kremlin, the house of the president in Russia right now, and the Ayatollah Khomeini both have blue checks on Twitter. You know, they're there. So I don't know what kind of bastion that they were trying to create to keep some folks out and keep others on. Elon Musk says everybody stays in the pool. The Media Research Center found that big tech censored criticism of President Joe Biden 646 times from March 2020 to March of this year. So again, Jason, I ask, what really were these execs looking for at Twitter?
Well, I think we're going to find out exactly what they were looking for. We're going to get a look at that algorithm that was keeping a lot of our content on the back burner. I think that's what Elon Musk is going to end up uncovering. At the same time, you're going to start to see a lot of the employees with Twitter who were responsible for this start to leave the company, because that's not what they signed up for, an open and free Twitter. What they signed up for and what they hoped to do was silence opposition. And they're not going to be able to get away with that anymore. And what I find just so rich is that folks on Twitter right now, some of the blue check marks on the left, complaining about, oh, this is going to bring not just white nationalism to Twitter and racism to Twitter, but misinformation. The same people who told us that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation are now telling us that we should be worried about misinformation.
And I'll take it up a notch with that. Racism is already there. I remember that weekend when a so-called algorithm, which turned out to be human beings, when the truth came out at Twitter, made that hashtag against Senator Tim Scott, black Senator Tim Scott, Republican black Senator, trend to the top for hours and hours and hours with a racial slur. We won't repeat on this show. He didn't want to say it either. No one does. So you want to talk about racism? Oh, it was living pretty well on that weekend. Took him forever to get that down. All right, we'll move to this.
Exactly.
A crime crisis is plaguing our nation, and critics say California is in shambles. Some San Francisco voters say they're feeling duped by the city's liberal district attorney. Chesa Boudin now facing a second recall after major fallout from his soft-on-crime policies.
The city is a train wreck, and it's been getting progressively worse over time.
Obviously, we're in a situation where something needs to change, but someone needs to actually do something.
The DA's got to go. He's not doing a job, and everybody's pissed off about it, and this has been going on too long. So where's our protection?
In Los Angeles, crime and homelessness taking their toll. Jim Breslow has lived there for more than 30 years. He now says he just doesn't feel safe anymore. He actually wrote an op-ed. Thanks to the defunding, LA now has 500 fewer officers than in 2019. It also has a demoralized police force. The response of many officers has been to retreat from crime fighting. The more aggressively they fight crime, the more likely they are to be accused of brutality or being racist? Jason.
I would like to see, and we've not really heard any of this yet, what are the successes from these policies that progressives have pushed? Whether it's San Francisco and LA or Seattle, Portland, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, what are the successes? Simply passing these so-called reforms, simply taking people out of jail or getting rid of cash bail, they're called successes. But what have been the results of those policies? We're seeing it play out day after day after day in this country. And unfortunately, it's playing out in the worst possible way. It's leading to death. It's leading to vandalism. It's leading to an increase in crime overall. And what we can tell you now is, and I'm so glad that you played some of those cuts from citizens, they're like, we're feeling comfortable to say something now. For the longest time, especially in these progressive cities, the progressive folks, the Democrats, moderates, and far to the left, were too scared to say anything because they were going to be judged by others who are in their echo chamber, who might be even further to the left than they are, and they don't want to be bullied, they don't want to be seen as outsiders, and they don't want to be accused of being a Republican in some of these progressive cities. But slowly, people started to speak up, because they've witnessed everything that has happened and they've personally experienced the crime. They go to a park with their kid and they realize that it's been taken over by drug addicts. They don't feel safe walking around their own neighborhoods, and now they're saying it.
Yeah,
they see exactly
the physical evidence.
And
you've shown us those. I follow you. I follow your radio show, obviously, and you have a companion online for that. And I've seen some of the pictures and videos of what these places look like. I mean, it is frightening. It looks like we've gone back in time, a time that we don't want to embrace in terms of that open drug use and so on and so forth. You mentioned the word liberals who are speaking out now, those citizens, and I'm glad we have their voices too, that in fact, and I'm getting a little bit of breaking news, I'll just quickly finish my thought. You mentioned that they felt judged. I say that the criminals are judging them and making sure that they remain victims.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.